Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to the VirtualRacing.Network YouTube channel. It is Sunday. It's 10 a.m. on the East Coast, 7 a.m. out here on the West Coast at our studios. And you know what that means. It's time for the US IndyCar League. So strap in tight as we've got a fast one in store today. It's going to be 72 laps around the Super Speedway here at Talladega, Alabama. It's the Talladega 190 presented by StickQuik right here on VirtualRacing.Network. 72 laps of action, and they are out there on the track at the moment. As you know, I'm Trevor Greenfield. I will be with you all day today. Been with you since season 10, and we're looking forward to a draft fest. So qualifying won't mean a heck of a lot today as we get set to do so. The cars down there on the track right now are taking a look at Mauro Ramirez, one of the newcomers to the league. And Mauro now setting the second fastest time of the moment. Switch over to Howard Livingston, who is absolutely neck deep in this championship as we are now 10 races into the season 13. And of course, this, as I mentioned, is the season 13 for US IndyCar League, and it's been a fun one so far. There is a lot to be said for the fact that actually, let's go ahead and focus on the qualifying at the moment. Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. StickQuik, fastest with his very first lap, going purple that time. Sector 1, we've yet to see Iñigo Mardones, Manuel Gomez Esteban, or Danny Alt. I did see Danny running some laps earlier, so maybe we will actually see him out there on the track. See if we can get a little bit more volume for these cars. There we go. Get that Dallara IR18 humming in your ears. Well, Mr. StickQuik putting in a fast lap, getting pole position thus far. Here's on board with another driver who's just put in his fast lap. That's Dan Ensch in the number 52 for Spark and Alzheimer's Association. Ryan Bowles just up the track putting in his qualifying effort. This is actually, this has now been, he's already completed his qualifying effort, so just able to eclipse Kelbaugh by 1/10 of a second, and that's actually quite a lot if I'm being honest. Now we'll take a look over here. I mean, if I'm being honest, like here at Talladega Super Speedway, 1/10 of a second is quite substantial, so obviously Bowles doing something special there, but here's somebody who's done something special quite often. It's David Strid, who has made quite a name for himself recently in the US IndyCar League. Been able to put together some race win, podium finishes, and be able to claw his way up in the points. Still looking potentially at a championship, but it's slipping a little bit further away each of these 3 races that we have remaining. So he really needs some strong finishes today. He's pretty much doing what he can by putting himself right up there on pole position. So here's another guy who knows how to draft with the best of them. It's Graham Bunyan just finishing his qualifying effort here at Talladega. He'll be starting 3rd so far. I don't see that anyone else is going to attempt to set a qualifying lap here at the Super Speedway. So we're getting set to go for 72 laps, and we are just about ready to call this qualifying. And so those results on your screen momentarily. There it is, David Strid with that pole position. Not as crucial again today because of the draft factor. Won't matter that much. You could start from dead last as Danny Alt is there in 13th. But Strid will take pole position, and that is actually perhaps a very crucial point that he will get heading into the championship hunt here as we get down to the close of season 13. But it'll be Ryan Bowles starting alongside, and they are unofficial teammates, so no questions that they will be probably paying themselves, paying each other some pretty good respect. Graham Bunyan going to be starting third here today on the inside of the second row next to Mr. StickQuik with a fantastic qualifying effort. Richard Kelbaugh getting in a great run, so he'll be starting on the outside. Will Stearns going to be starting on the inside of row 3. And that is great news for Will Stearns fans because he has not been in the field recently. And so making a return here at Talladega. Starting there on row 4 will be... on the outside of row 3, that'll be Mike West. And then on row 4, it'll be Dan Ensch. The ALZ.org Last Lap Motorsports machine. Outside will be Howard Livingston in the number 13 Care Camps machine. Mauro Ramirez is going to be starting just behind. And Jason Lowe, who is currently still trying to fight for this championship and fight for at least third. But he's got his hands full with Howard Livingston, so we'll look to see whether or not he can have a good finish today. Jason Lowe not able to get that consistency week in and week out that he needs to get in order to secure that third place in the championship. But then, for the most part, neither has Howard Livingston. He has not been able to get that elusive win yet, and so we look forward to seeing Howard there in that win column. So let's go ahead and take this information away, and we will get set for today's action. We'll take a look today at the points. Coming up here in just a second on your screen. And there it is. Graham Bunyan, currently the leader in the points. He's stacked there with 5 of the 9 starts that he's made into victories. Pretty awesome stuff. But he is still touchable from David Strid there in second place. Less than 30 points out. Howard Livingston in third. Jason Lowe still in fourth. And it's still quite a tight battle in there. Tough to say whether or not any of these other drivers are going to be able to make it up into that fourth place, third place hunt, but Mike West is still there. Dan Ensch today looking for a fuel save race. Talked a little bit about that in previous races, but today with this draft, it could be something pretty awesome to be able to save fuel, and perhaps those that do sit in the back in fuel save will be probably the only ones that can make it to the end on just, I think, two stops today. So in order to be able to make it to the end, you're going to have to fuel save, and that's the only way to do it. So we'll get that ticker back up there on the screen, and we'll get set for 72 laps of fun. I'm sorry, it says 95 laps of fun. So I guess that's how many we're doing today. Different than what I had planned. Nevertheless, more fun, more action. Here we go. As Strid lines them up here. Bowles on the outside. Bunyan and Kelbaugh, and there goes Strid. Great start. And we are underway here in Talladega. So they file in single file. Behind, and that's pretty much what we're going to expect to see today. We do expect to see some drafting and some passing, but for the most part, I think a lot of drivers probably going to be pretty willing to just hold station where they're at and not take too many risks. That being said, it's immediately Will Stearns up to the lead. He's not afraid to take a risk or two. Will Stearns, now your leader, getting that bonus point for leading the first lap. Not something I thought would be happening here on the first lap, but that's why we line him up to race. Stearns out in front, Strid in second, Bowles in third, everyone covered by just over a second. And unfortunately, we did not see Danny Alt take to the green flag today. That's unfortunate. Maybe eventually we'll get him to actually start one of these races. But in the meantime, it is Will Stearns who continues to lead here in Talladega. So we have another sold-out crowd for the US IndyCar League. Really appreciate these over 100,000 virtual fans coming out here for today's action, as they do each and every week on the iRacing service. US IndyCar League in action here on Sunday at the Super Speedway in Talladega, Alabama. Here we go. It is Will Stearns still in first, leading David Strid. Ryan Bowles in second. And these drivers continue, as I said, to settle in for the long haul and try and get that fuel save done as much as possible. They'll be flipping them switches to make the fuel map go up to whatever the most tolerable level is before you lose too much pace. I guess you could run fuel map 4, fuel map 5. I don't know if you could get away with fuel map 8. That's the caution setting. But either way, you can save a ton of fuel by lifting and staying in the draft of other drivers. So we go into the shadows here in Talladega for a moment. And Stearns continues to lead here. Nobody anxious to take over that lead spot. Now we see Jason Lowe creeping into the back of that front group. Not a surprise. Easy to spot in this crowd, that fuchsia color car standing out. So keep an eye on him as he now makes a move around the outside of his rival, Howard Livingston. So these two battling for position in the championship, Lowe and Livingston. They'll be very aware of where each one is positioned on the track. A lot of these drivers will, of course, not only have their relative boxes open, as it's known, the F box, black box that sits in the corner of the view when you're driving, sits in the corner of the screen. You can move it around, but many of these drivers will be watching that time. They'll be switching back and forth between that F box on the relative mode and their in-car controls, and be able to make adjustments to their anti-roll bar and their weight jacker, of course, to keep this car turning. But then also changing the fuel map, especially today when you're in this big of a draft. You're going to be changing it from the most powerful setting, the richest setting, at number 1, and then you can go all the way up to number 5, which is the leanest fuel setting, with the exception of fuel map 8, which, as I mentioned, is predominantly only used for cautions when you want to save the most amount of fuel possible. And so there are other techniques, obviously, as you heard Jason Lowe there, being able to lift for just that moment, as we now see a little bit more action in front, some drivers jockeying around for position. So let's go ahead and run through the field. In first, we have Will Stearns, the number 306 car. We haven't seen him in action out here too much today. And we should also take a look at that weather. How crucial is it today? Well, it's only 104 track temp, and not nearly as bad as we saw in hot Atlanta, over 130 degrees track temp. So these tires will not really be falling off before the drivers need to pit. So that will not be an issue. And just 59% humidity, so not too sticky out there. Good news for these drivers. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so we will not be racing into the night. All good news if you are an IndyCar driver right now. But as we go through the field, it is Will Stearns. He's come forward 4 positions. He's led a bunch of laps, and I think that's his intention today, is to say, hey, don't forget about me. I am still a top driver. I've just been taking some time off. Certainly, quite a few of these drivers would like their chance to be able to race Will a little bit more, so here's their chance. Here's David Strid in second place. Currently second in the championship, and still has that chance at first. So Strid essentially controlling the rest of the field at the moment, and I don't think he's sad that he doesn't have the lead at all. Again, this all being about fuel saving. The way to do that is to just kind of stay behind and lift and save as much fuel as you possibly can by lifting your foot out of the throttle. So Bowles following there in third and just hanging in. It's a long old road until you get to that first set of pit stops, and then calamity can break out. So we continue to watch on here. So Bowles continuing and able to hold down that third spot. So just looking over some of our notes. That is Graham Bunyan, your 2-time series champ, just behind seasons 11 and 12, and now we're working on season 13. Will he be 3-time champ again? Certainly looking so, but there he is just behind his unofficial teammate, Ryan Bowles. That brings you right here to the back of the Graham Bunyan mobile from Australia. It's really amazing. They don't actually have a shop here in the United States, flying that machine all over the world. Quite costly to have that shop down there in Australia, but we appreciate Bunyan and Strid's participation in the US IndyCar League. So continuing here, we are on lap 13 of 95, so not 72 laps. Howard Livingston just behind here in 5th place, racing for the Care Camps organization. Care Camps and the Coconut Castaways down in Florida. As we mentioned, quite the interesting personality, Howard. He's part of an awesome band and active musician, part of the scene down there in Florida. And on Sundays, he goes out and drives race cars. So how cool is that? Living quite an enchanted life down there. But he's now running in 5th spot. And, you know, again, he's looking to tie up 3rd in the championship. So for Howard right now, this is important that you keep your focus, and that's what this is all about. You know, for those of the drivers that have run a lot of NASCAR and done Talladega, done Daytona, done a lot of these drafting battles. Now, we're not going to be bump drafting here in the IndyCar. That doesn't quite work. But I tell you what, fuel saving does work, and holding your line in the draft really does. And you got to keep, you see, as the car starts to drift up there in the corner, you got to make sure that you modulate your throttle and figure out how the car wants to push up into the corner. Because as you follow the IndyCar that's in front, that aero screen, especially at these speeds, which we can take a look here and see what our virtual software says, over 213 miles an hour, coming upwards of 240 miles per hour here. This is why the real life series would never run at Talladega Sabre Speedway, just plain too fast. But nevertheless, having to manage this constantly, and you can hear on the high side, why, who's that? It's Mr. StickQuik. There he is, number 24, going by on the high side. riding on board now with Richard Kelbaugh as he takes a look at the high side on, he makes the pass on Howard Livingston, now looking at the outside of Ryan Bowles. Must be feeling pretty good about his machine right now if he's able to get that much done. So perhaps opening up the field map a little bit on the rest of these guys. But he's got to be careful he doesn't hang himself out there, as can definitely happen. You need a buddy to work with. I was talking to Dan Ensch before today's race. Dan, my teammate over at now KES Industries Last Lap Motorsports. And Dan letting me know that I think the biggest key for him is going to be to find that drafting partner here today. Who will it be? Who will step up? And as I mentioned, Kelbaugh now finding out the hard way that going the long way around doesn't always work. Just behind, it's Mauro Ramirez, who's now creeping up on the backside of Kelbaugh. And we've got Stearns falling down through the order. He is now pitting, and so trying to get coverage of that. There we go. As he comes down pit lane, Stearns now to receive service, and this is on time, 19 laps in. Now, keep an eye. We're going to go back over to the live picture here. Now, this is where things are going to start to get interesting, because how long you can stretch these fuel runs is really important. It will be massively important as we get into the final stretches of this race to see who, if it stays green this whole time, who will have the fuel to make it on the least amount of stops. And as Dan was mentioning ahead of time, if you do a mad fuel save, there is a chance to save a lot of fuel. So who will it be? Who wants to lead? Who doesn't want to lead? Coming up on the high side, there he is. Making a run. It's Manuel Gomez Esteban to the front. You saw it right there. Racing for Super Mango and Team Mazinger. It's Gomez Esteban making his mark here in Talladega. Now side by side, as you see, Will Stearns unfortunately having to pit again. And that will be very costly. It looks like Stearns, I'm not sure if he's actually pitting out. No, he did come back into the pits. So that must have been some sort of a speeding penalty for Stearns. And now we watch the front of this race as it's David Strid and Manuel Gomez Esteban. Now Ryan Bowles coming forward back into second. It looks like Gomez Esteban slowly backing up. And is he now trying to find his way into the pits? And there he's made contact. It's Esteban. And I believe, I can't tell, is that Ensch? It is Ensch. They're still entangled and they can't loose, they cannot get loose. These cars are caught together in what appears to be a permanent slide. I've never seen anything like this. I have no idea what I'm watching. Well, you've seen it here for the first time, ladies and gentlemen. I have never, in all of the iRacing I've ever seen, have I ever seen anything like that. That is something else. So we're gonna jump back here. Apologize for laughing at the unfortunate timing of this. Now, this will bring out, of course, this caution, as you just heard, and Bunyan has not pitted, Livingston not pitted, Mardones has not pitted, and so that will give the lead over to Bowles and Lowe, as Lowe is now shown in front of Bowles, so that will actually give the lead over to Jason Lowe. We're going to jump back now and take a look, see if we can figure out exactly what went wrong for Manuel Gomez Esteban, though I believe we know what happened that's just a little bit too late there, so let's see if we can jump back just a little bit further. And that one a little bit too late. That is just something else. So let's see if we can get all the way back. This beginning quite a ways up the track. So here we go, jumping on board. Maybe we'll look at the chopper view here, and that'll give us maybe a little bit of a better idea of what took place here. So here's Gomez Esteban, and he just gets plowed into the back. I'm not really sure, again, if we can go back, does he even have a chance to make it into the pits? Let's play this back. He's headed to the... He's slowing down a lot, but he's slowing down kind of on the middle of the track. And then this happens, which is perhaps more frustration than anything else. As I said before, I've never seen anything quite like this in terms of two cars getting tangled together and continuing all the way down the track. Sometimes they get tangled together and they'll end up in the wall together, or unloosen themselves, but I've never seen two cars travel through an entire corner like that tangled. Nevertheless, things not ending well for either one of these two drivers. You can see now Ensch and Gomez Esteban, we'll go to the live picture, both of them now sitting on pit lane. Take a look at that. Can't really see pit lane too well, but there it is, the damaged car of Gomez Esteban and Dan Ensch. So we'll pick up the leaders again, and this is David Strid. Now, Lowe was shown as having made his pit stop first, so we did miss. Perhaps he came in to top off, which does make sense, as the other drivers had not yet pitted. So all of them kind of coming in together there on... So we got lap 21 for Strid, 19 for Morrow, 23 for Bunyan, 23 for Mardones, 23 for Howard Livingston, 22 for Lowe, and Bowles and Kelbaugh. So right now, the drivers with the most fuel in their car would be Graham Bunyan, Iñigo Mardones, and Howard Livingston. And one of the cars with the least amount would be Mauro Ramirez, who came in on lap 19, as well as Kelbaugh and Mike West. Now, a couple of drivers. Here comes Lowe and Bunyan once again back into the pits. This is just to top off. They're not going to be taking any tires. We'll just watch this very quick pit stop. He will not go up on the jacks. Oh, perhaps he did. So perhaps he did not get full fuel or did not get tires last time, or perhaps that's just our software acting up on us. Who knows? But Bunyan taking full service, and he, as well as Lowe, now going to be on that same strategy. And it seems like something different. Didn't have this shadowing issue for a long time, and then it just decided to creep up between last night and today. So gotta love it when things change on you. You don't know what you did. But there you go. Part of the fun of doing live broadcasts. So I hope you're enjoying this one. And pace lights are off on the safety car, so we will not get a chance to do our commercial break this time by. But we will wait until next time. Be able to talk about everyone's favorite device in the world, StickQuik, which of course is one of the presenting sponsors of the US IndyCar League and has been a great supporter for many years going now. So yes, indeed, today, as I'm looking at it on the schedule, today was scheduled for 72 laps. And I guess we just decided we wanted another 23 for posterity, which is basically a whole nother pit stop. So these drivers having to really calc that one out and make sure that they get maximum amount of fuel. We are now back under green, and it is David Strid leading us back on lap 25. Very early start for Strid, much earlier, I think, than some of the other drivers were expecting. However, you will see this gap close up quite quickly as we look off the backside of Strid down the track. Watch Mauro Ramirez close up. Now again, Mauro with essentially like 3 or 4 laps less fuel than Bunyan and Lowe, who stopped there on lap 23, 24. So Mauro now looking to see whether he can get by. He's trying to go by on the high side here at Talladega. We have not seen that really working too well as he now begins to fall back. But perhaps he'll try to take another move. And here's Mauro cutting by on that high side. You see Strid's wheel on the left. They'll go side by side into the corner, but it'll be Strid who emerges in the lead. And so now Mauro will set back in behind Strid. Strid doing his best to protect that low line. If you give up that low line, it's pretty much assured that the driver behind can shoot right past you into the corner. So, running order now, David Strid in first. That's where he started. And you can see quite a gap has now broken to that group behind. And they're going to have to play catch up here in a minute. We'll keep an eye on that. Mauro Ramirez here running in second. Will he make a move to first? That's a good question. Here's Howard Livingston now up into third. He's trying to fight for third in the championship. We'll keep an eye on that championship fight as well. Bunyan here in fourth, and look at who has climbed into that top 5. It's Iñigo Mardones, Spanish driver racing for Necki Racing Team out of Spain. And given a challenge here each and every week to these awesome drivers in the US IndyCar League. Will this be his week for a top 5? Will it be his week for a podium? Stay tuned. Would be awesome to get that man into Victory Circle. Would love a chance to interview him sometime. Not with my English, but you know what I'm saying. Would figure it out. Jason Lowe running in 6th place. He's up 4 spots, but this is not what he wants. He doesn't want to be separated by 4.6 seconds. These drivers are going to have to start working together and swapping draft past each other in order to catch up again. Now drifting even further back. So that gap now growing as this chase group here, as it's known in bicycle racing, now separated by a good margin. And really that's, you know, that is kind of how it happens in real life, especially in NASCAR races. You do get this split draft pack that for whatever reason loses that draft of the lead group, and they tend to fall back. But if you get a couple of drivers that are willing to work together, they can actually chase down a group up in front that's just running nose to tail. So will that happen? Here comes Will Stern around the outside of Jason Lowe. He's trying to do something to make something happen. I think with Will Stearns now down a full lap, I think 2 laps now. Well, actually 1 lap he's shown right now, down a lap. So being down a lap, Will fighting for that position, and Will is of course the first car 1 lap down. So should everyone else have a caution. Like if we were to have a caution right now and everyone else pitted, if they were to, then that would allow Stearns to stay out and get his lap back. So he's definitely fighting right now to try to get that lap back. But also he is trying to fight. I think he's trying to fight to get by Jason Lowe, not just run side by side, but it's not really working, as he does not appear to have much support. But there he is. He does get by, and now that he's clear, will he come down and take that nose, the air off of the nose of Jason Lowe? He does not. So he stays out high, and these cars continue to work in the back. Meanwhile, up front, there he is, Strid, with Ramirez just behind, Livingston in third, Bunyan in fourth, and Mardones still in fifth. These drivers doing their best to stretch this fuel tank. And once again, Mauro Ramirez more than happy to let David Strid lead as long as he'd like. And for Strid, this working in his favor also in terms of the championship. Bunyan sitting in fourth place is still obviously a threat for this race win, but in terms of the championship, Strid taking bonus point for getting the pole position and for leading a lap, as well as possibly leading the most laps. The bonus points starting to stack up in the favor of David Strid here. So we appreciate you joining us over here in the VirtualRacing.Network studios. And yes, indeed, Yabarillo joining us in the YouTube chat room, letting us know go Team Mazinger, go Super Mango. And Gomez Esteban looked awesome there for a few minutes. Unfortunately, having that pit-in problem. But, well, that's the way that goes, you know. There's always next week. So, unfortunately, Esteban now down 5 laps, and he'll have to try to make something happen here shortly to try to get 4 laps of that back if he wants to. But not much you can really do at a track like this to try to accomplish something like that. So, unfortunately, that's going to be taking him mostly out of competition today. But you never know. There could be other drivers that drop out, and that's why you hang in these races. For somebody like Gomez Esteban, you know, he might be fighting for, you know, 8th or 9th in the championship, but if you stick it out on the track and a couple cars drop out, well, that's another few points in your favor. And if last season you finished in 9th and this season you finish in 8th, that's an accomplishment. So you got to look at all the little ways you can pat yourself on the back and remember that it's not just about winning and coming in second and third, and, you know, it's not just about the championships for a lot of these drivers. It is about much more than that, and challenging yourself to be better on the weekly basis. And there is Mardones into the pits, and Ensch really locking up his tires getting into the pits as well. Not sure why Ensch may have been running by himself out there, and that could have been a problem. Richard Kelbaugh now coming in on the same lap, and there is Mauro Ramirez dropping out of second place. So back to the leaders here. It's David Strid continuing lap 38, and he is not in fuel danger, but we expect that he should be in relatively soon. There you see Kelbaugh rejoining the race. So 56 laps remaining here. That really doesn't divide up evenly in terms of the number of stops. So for these other drivers, they're going to be short fueling at the end, and it's not going to possibly work out for them. So we're just going to have to keep an eye out and see who can make it. We would be looking if somebody is going to make it on just 2 more stops, they'd have to come in with about 46 laps remaining. So still quite a ways to go until we reach that point. So in about 9 laps, whoever can make it to 9 laps more at the 49 mark, that would be who's going to be able to make it on 2 stops. If they can't make it that far, pretty much everybody is going to have to stop again. And again, a number of these drivers would have been looking and seeing that the race was scheduled for 72 laps, and they are probably just as surprised as anyone else that it's going 95 laps. But what can you say? Sometimes unexpected things happen on race day, and you just got to deal with it. Can you just imagine if you showed up for an official race and all of a sudden there was more laps than you were expecting? You'd be scratching your head for sure. But that's, you know, that's league racing for you. Maybe perhaps the session gets set with the wrong amount of laps. Not that that's necessarily what happened. As Howard Livingston's now taking over the lead, as Strid now makes his way into the pits and down this very long pit road here in Talladega. But sometimes it's some other setting, a weather setting, or some other setting that gets left on. Here, Strid with the final pit box into his stall just fine. And Strid actually not taking tires, so deciding to go without tires here, and that will save him some time. Lowe now 4 point, shown just over 4 seconds back. And to me, it does not look like Strid is getting going very fast, as Lowe is now catching him kind of in a hurry. So this would be for position, and Lowe has, it was 4 seconds exiting the pits, and now that gap is down to 2.91 seconds. So something maybe not quite getting, you know, the right gearing on the restart. I'm not sure what happened to Strid, but any closer than that, and it will give Lowe a chance to catch up to those drivers in front, including Mauro Ramirez. Howard Livingston in the lead here, looking at the back of Jason Lowe. He'll be picking up that draft, and Lowe obviously does not want to fall down a lap, but Livingston yet to come in. Perhaps Livingston will try to sit behind his nemesis here in the championship and save a little bit of extra fuel. That's something you can absolutely do. Sit behind a lap car if they've got enough pace, and save some extra fuel for a lap or two, so you can keep this gravy train going, as they say. Looking out the back, guess who that is? Iñigo Mardones in second place. And now just coming into the pits, we do have Graham Bunyan making his way down pit lane. So will he take tires here today in this stop? Locking up just a little bit, getting into the box, no problem. Still got it right on the marks where it needs to be and away safely. So Bunyan choosing not to take tires and saving that extra, just it's an extra second or two, as now Livingston peels off. Will he get it stopped in time? Plenty early, it looks like. So very conservative pit entry, pitting from the lead, Howard Livingston there, but you know, better safe than sorry. It's not quite as bad of a problem as real life, but certainly whenever you're on cold tires cold brakes from being out there and not using those brakes, you could always lock on pit entry, and you don't want to do that. So a little bit safer, but definitely avoiding those costly mistakes that can, I mean, in a green flag race like this, it could completely ruin your whole race, take you out completely. As Livingston rejoins, and that will be the leaders going by. That's David Strid, Graham Bunyan, and Mauro Ramirez. Morrow on a bit of a different strategy, but he's hanging with these leaders. So Morrow showing a little bit of his drafting capability and ability to stay on the top of these strategies as we're now working on the halfway mark of the race. It's Iñigo Mardones still in the lead. And now he'll pull it into the pits. Here, will he get it stopped in time? Looks a little fast by my unofficial eye, but we'll see whether or not he's forced to do another pit stop. Iñigo Mardones for the Necky Racing team here, pitting from the lead and looking to hopefully get back out there and rejoin those leaders. And this would be your lead group. So lap 47, and even though Mardones still shown in the lead for a moment, it will be Strid taking over the lead with Bunyan and Ramirez at full song out on the track. Mardones just in front of this group. In fact, he may be able to get up to speed fast enough that he can rejoin and stay in the draft of this lead group, which is fantastic news for the Spaniard. He's now part of this fight for first. If he can get into that draft and stay there, he'll have something. But perhaps he won't be able to do it quite fast enough. We'll watch from on board. There, he's caught that draft, so he didn't fall too far back, just about a half a second back. You can see that box down there in the bottom right-hand corner struggling to keep up with their times, but well over 230 miles per hour here in Talladega, Alabama. 240 plus miles per hour. And take a look at who just took over the lead. It's none other than our series champion of 2 times, now working on his 3rd one. It's Graham Bunyan to the lead, right in front of his teammate, and unfortunately, we've now seen Mardones slip off the back because indeed, there he will serve his pit road penalty for speeding on pit road entry. Tell you, you could just tell when it's a little too fast. But excitement continuing here with Bunyan in the lead, Strid in second. So those drivers coming in on 44 and 41, 37. So this fight has now changed dramatically in terms of being able to get onto the correct fuel strategy. Since we've got the space and the time, let's go ahead and take a look now at that strategy. You can see here where your favorite driver is at and what lap they came in on. And you can see very differing laps for a number of these drivers. Strid in 3 laps before Bunyan, and Ramirez in 7 laps before Bunyan. So quite different there. Livingston in later than any of these drivers, but even still, by not making it to 49, Mardones made it to 47, but I don't think reliably they're going to be able to get to the end on exact number of stops. So I think what you're going to end up with is a number of these drivers coming in and short fueling, depending on, so they'll all probably have to make the same number of stops at the end, but some of these drivers will be able to save upwards of a second or more on pit lane by the fact that they stopped later than other drivers. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that, and it all depends on what the yellow strategy ends up, or the yellow situation ends up being here today. But lap 53 of 95, and we continue with this trio in front. By the way, congratulations yesterday to Colton Herta and Jimmy Johnson in the Race of Champions, doing well and beating Team Germany, Mick Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel. That was a pretty cool race. If you didn't get a chance to see it. But both of those now IndyCar drivers, still a little weird calling Jimmy Johnson an IndyCar driver, but he is, and he and Colton Herta kind of showing something on the international scale that they're able to handle cars, not just on pavement, but on snowy, icy conditions as well. So we continue here, lap 54, just about to get into lap 55. David Strid in second, Bunyan in first, and Ramirez in third. So this one starting to shape up, and you can see behind now, just up the track, that is Howard Livingston and Jason Lowe. Now again, these two battling it out for third position in the championship, but they would both love to get a race win, and they certainly don't want to lose that lead pack. So at just over 3 seconds back, Lowe is, 3.6 seconds back now from Mauro Ramirez. We're gonna have to watch and see whether these two can swap the draft and catch back up to that lead group. So this would be your first chase group here of Lowe and Livingston. Kelbaugh and Bowles. So this group here, starting from 6th place, Bowles, Kelbaugh, West, and Stearns. I apologize, that's how they run in the order, but that is not how they are on the track. There's Kelbaugh now coming into the pits, and he has a bit of a lockup, but safely in. And continuing. So we continue here, Talladega, Alabama, on VirtualRacing.Network. So great to be with you here at the Super Speedway. On the track, it's Bunyan and Strid, and now Jason Lowe shown in third, 3.9 seconds back, with Howard Livingston at his tail. And this is why Mauro Ramirez now into the pits, making his way down to the pit box. Will he take tires this time? We'll watch and see. Does in fact. And so not quite on with that same strategy of not taking tires that the leaders did. And in fact, it does appear as though Mauro will either have to repair damage or serve his penalty for speeding on pit road. And that is kind of tragic, as he was already up there into that podium spot. And so what that does is give over the lead of this race to two teammates. And not surprisingly, Bunyan and Strid on the same channel going to be communicating back and forth about swapping that draft and possibly walking away from Jason Lowe. Because as these drivers would know, Jason Lowe is a formidable competitor in this series. He's someone who, if they let him back up into this league group, he could certainly steal this win and at a minimum cause absolute headache for these two right here, David Strid and Graham Bunyan. So, you know, if you're Bunyan or Strid right now, this is the dream. You've broken away from the draft of Jason Lowe and Howard Livingston, and you're basically running comfy, cushy laps together like you're in a practice session with your teammate there, David Strid. So if you're Bunyan and Strid, this is just, you know, this is just a heavenly cake delivered to you on your birthday. But they've got to watch it, because lap cars could present an issue as we go forward. Are they on the right strategy? We don't know. Jason Lowe now into the pits, and we do not see that he's had any issues thus far. So thought maybe that might have been an issue that brought him in, but it was not. So the question is, who will be on the right strategy for the end of this one? And we have a note here. I want to go back to this. This is David Strid a moment ago coming into the pits. He locks it up and slides sideways. There he goes out through the grass. on pit entry. And he has to circle it back around. That small mistake, he did not damage the car, but that small mistake will cost him dearly. We'll go back to the live picture as Strid now, just now getting into the box and up onto the jacks. And as we see Bulls slide in just behind to his box, as well as Mike West in from 5th spot, that is going to put Howard Livingston back in command of this race. And Livingston racing for the Care Camps organization. Of course, we'll have that big day at Indy here at the end of the season, if we ever finish this race. It was only going to be about 10 more laps to go, but in fact, it is quite a few more. Here comes Graham Bunyan exiting the pits. And as promised, now Jason Lowe into the pits in 3rd. Sorry, out of 3rd. And, well, we'll see how much that actually costs Strid, as now you can see Howard Livingston right on the back of Strid, about to put him a lap down. And as I mentioned, this is really what Livingston wants to do if he's trying to fuel save, just get that last few laps. So Strid, as we see Livingston actually now make his way into the pits. And Strid now shown in 3rd place, but about 10 seconds off of Graham Bunyan. So that gap is now, they were right together, racing together for 1st and 2nd. So just talking about how quickly things can change. And that was literally the point that I was trying to make, as we're going to see Graham Bunyan going by here momentarily. There he goes by for the race lead. Howard Livingston in 2nd place, now exiting the pits. And he'll drop probably to 3rd or 4th. We'll have to see where he will pit back out. Keep a look here from on board Howard's machine. But just as I was talking about not long ago, they were out there racing, Graham Bunyan and Howard Livingston were, for the lead, and their teammates, things were looking so comfy, and just getting that lockup onto pit lane is all it took to basically change the complexion of this race. And as such, it's now Graham Bunyan who's running in 1st, Howard Livingston in 2nd, David Strid in 3rd, but a big gap between Bunyan and Strid, and that means Bunyan or Strid will not get that drafting advantage. And that could, as I mentioned before, absolutely open up the end of this race. So just 30 laps remain here, Talladega Superspeedway, round 13. I'm sorry, season 13, round 10 of 12. And it's been an interesting one so far. So just one caution so far, but causing enough of an issue that we've had to see some different pit strategies emerge. And so now we await to see who will make their final pit stop of the day, or try to make that final pit stop of the day. That will be the question. Who can make it to the end? So Bunyan in the lead here, in the lead of the championship and in the lead of the race. Really great to see these fans down here in Alabama getting behind Graham Bunyan with their shirts and their hats and waving their banners for the Australian. Really a big fan of his work out here on the track, his mastery. And here's a guy with quite a few fans himself and a following on Facebook and presumably other social media. Howard Livingston here with CareCamps.org and the Coconut Castaways, putting in a great race. running in second place. Will today be his day to get that podium position? Can he somehow hang on to it and end up in the right spot at the end of this one and take that victory? We wait and see here. But that familiar paint job out there doing some good work and trying to promote the KOA Care Camps organization. So we'll just run down the field for you. It's as Mardones now pitting in from up in the front. Now Bunyan in first, and it's Howard Livingston still running in second. David Strid in third position at the moment. Ryan Bowles racing with Mike West here. This is for fourth place, side by side for fourth. And you see Jason Lowe going by, but Lowe is actually now shown a lap down. So more problems for Lowe, unfortunately. Now, Lowe pitted on lap 61, and he has, in fact, done an extra pit stop more than anyone else. So, Lowe really just kind of, once again, trying to claw at getting maybe that lap back, but just trying to hope for the maximum amount of points here as he is racing with Livingston for that third spot in the champ. But Bowles and West continue to race side by side here for fourth place. And currently, you got to feel pretty good if you're Graham Bunyan, because you've got, it's Bunyan and Strid and Bowles and West, four unofficial teammates out of the five that technically were in the field if you count Danny Alt. All of those drivers up in the top five right now. So, got to feel pretty good if you are Bunyan and Strid and Bowles and West. You're racing with friends out there at the front. But I tell you, Howard Livingston is now racing with David Strid for second place, and Strid actually just got by. So, we'll take a look at that pass as it was done on the track. It was around the outside. And there goes Strid by for the position. On the outside, getting it done. And now Strid, let's go back to the live picture, out there in front of Howard Livingston. Just 24 laps to go. So from this point onwards, with drafting, it is possible to make it. So we await to see who will stop and take their final fuel load. It may be a little aggressive to come in right now, though, because you would have to really fuel save. So maybe another lap or two, and then we will be seeing everybody on pit road. So here's Graham Bunyan leading it, 23 to go. Will he lead it at the end? That is the question. Strid in second, 9.9 seconds back. Livingston still racing right there with him. On board with Strid. The lights flashing on Strid's steering wheel, letting you know that he is up there next to that rev limiter. Racing at high RPMs, trying to keep this car up in front of Howard Livingston and pointed towards the front. And Richard Kelbaugh now in, making his final stop. So again, this would be the fuel save maximum that you could do, really. And Kelbaugh now leaving the pits on his way potentially to getting this top 10 here today. So heading back out there, and Bunyan continues on, 21 to go. So the longer that he can go, the less fuel he'll need to take on board. Here's Strid and Livingston just behind. And this gap, 9.9 seconds up there to Graham Bunyan. Will these two be able to somehow close that gap over this long run? We will find out. Meanwhile, this battle still going on here for fourth position, as Howard Livingston seems to have third pretty well locked behind David Strid. These three here kind of battling on the track, but Lowe is a lap down, so Lowe not really part of this actual battle here for position. As you see, Will Stearns now making his way down to the pits. It looks like he probably got it stopped in time. So Stearns out of 7th position. And back to Graham Bunyan. With 20 laps to go, he's cruising around by himself. But 9.3 seconds back now is the gap. So that gap has closed about 0.6. And we look to see whether or not that will continue to close down. Will Strid and Livingston work together? It looks like Livingston falling off the back a little bit, perhaps maybe trying to make a fuel number. So looking out the back of Strid's machine, that gap down to 9.3 seconds. And now that's Manuel Gomez Esteban just behind. Gomez Esteban unfortunately getting tangled in that wreck earlier, but has had great pace here today, was momentarily in the lead. And so these drivers continue to race on. Strid and Livingston here battling it out for second place on the track. But it looks like Strid now coming into the pits. We'll go on board and see. I mean, I'm not positive, but to me, it still looked a little fast. I'm not sure, but we'll be able to tell next time. Bowles now out of 4th place, and West, his teammate, also making their pit stop. So Strid, Bowles, and West teammates all coming in on the same lap. And then that may give them a little assurance when they come back out that they will actually have a drafting partner. Here's Bunyan. See a little bit of smoke from tire lockup in front. It looks like Bunyan maybe got it down to the right speed. Strid now rejoined the track. And meanwhile, Livingston goes sailing by on the track and in that first position. So Howard Livingston taking over the lead yet again here at Talladega as we are in the middle of a pit stop cycle. And trailing just off the back, Manuel Gomez Esteban trying to save a little bit of fuel and perhaps pick up a place or two. So this is what it looks like from on board the number 13 machine. Pretty smooth sailing, but at this kind of speed, one tiny mistake could cost you everything. And right now, Howard Livingston of 7 positions running in the lead here in Talladega. So with that being said, here comes Howard Livingston into the pits. He'll make his pit stop for the final time today, and we will watch on screen as Graham Bunyan will take that lead back over. But here's Mr. StickQuik, and you know, that could only mean one thing. Yes, let's talk about that fabulous device. So we go side by side and you don't miss anything. That fabulous device out there, well, you see that on the side of those tools and in there on the side of those wrenches that's up there on that pegboard. No, it's not hooks holding those things up. It's not tape. It's no glue. All this is the StickQuik. Now, maybe you haven't heard of it yet, but I love my StickQuiks because it does something just like this. Look at the inside of that medicine cabinet. It's all organized. The OCD little gremlin that lives inside all of us is going to be so happy when you pick these devices up off of StickQuik.com, because what it is it's just a silicone ring that's magnetized. It's ultra durable, chemical resistance, perfect for any sort of heavy duty application. And you can use it in your car, you can use it out of the car, in your kitchen, in your shop, wherever makes the most sense. As the camera focuses back on the leader there, Graham Bunyan, but you can still see on that right-hand side all these different ways you can use the StickQuik. It's just the coolest thing maybe you don't have in your house yet, but hey, it's never too late to start getting yourself organized. We're just into February here in 2022. Why not spend the rest of it? Look at that. How cool would your toolbox look if you got the red ones and you did that with it and everything was all color coordinated and organized? I mean, again, if you keep your shop clean, maybe the husband or the wife lets you play with your toys a little bit more. I'm just saying, happy spouse, happy life. If you know what I'm saying, pick up your StickQuiks today. Buy them for yourself, buy them for your friends, buy them for your family. You will thank me later. They come in all kinds of colors, 6 to a package. Go to StickQuik.com. You can get more information and tell them that you were watching the US IndyCar League. And they will be happy to know that they're presenting sponsorship here of the US IndyCar League that's been going on for literally years is paying off. So we resume here with our live shot. We'll get the right ticker up there. There we go. Oh, and there we have, that's Iñigo Mardones sliding into the wall on pit entry just as we come back. That will not bring out the caution, but we also had a crash there, I believe, from Will Stearns. So we'll back up and take a look at this one. Here's Mardones jump on board, and the same thing. So there is what I was talking about earlier. Usually it's not that bad of a problem, but if you have the brake bias set at a certain point, it may cause a lockup, especially with those cold brakes coming into the pits. So that was unfortunate. Also, let's take a look at Will Stearns having a crash here. This is him exiting the car on the backstretch. So perhaps having an issue and needing to get towed, and there he is, in fact, out of the race. So Will Stearns fans going to be sad to know that he's out of the race, and another unfortunate turn of events here for Stearns, not able to get that top 5 that I know that he was really looking for today. Here's Bunyan, though, in the lead, and it's 7.7 seconds back to David Strid, 14 seconds back to Howard Livingston. So obviously the pit strategy not fully playing out the way that Livingston would have wanted it to, and unfortunately not able to gain time on Strid. So now quite a gap existing from first to second, third, and fourth, all the way back to fifth a lap down. But hey, guess who that is fifth a lap down? It's this guy who's running right behind the leader right now. For a moment, he was sitting in pole position, and he is actually the league steward as well. I never mentioned that, but frequently looking through replays and reviewing incidents, assigning penalties and the like, but always putting in some extra effort. So really a lot of a lot of drivers have to wear multiple hats. Of course, Strid and Dan Ensch, as well as Jason Lowe, generally working together on the setups on Saturday to release for the group. And in this case, Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh, not only sponsoring the series and helping to pay for these broadcasts to come your way here on VirtualRacing.Network, but also doing the stewarding and, of course, turning out for those practices. Always great to have Rick in the field, and as I mentioned, looking at 5th right now, and that would be awesome to see him potentially with another top 5. Just 6 to go here, though, and Mauro Ramirez actually recovering from earlier and able to get up there into 6th and hold 6th place. So now, and actually, unfortunately, Kelbaugh now having to pit, so that was my hope, was that somehow he could stretch it on fuel saving, but I don't think it is going to work out that way. And so Kelbaugh now falling down through the order and is going to fall out of that top 5. So we look to see if anybody else is going to have to make pit stops who might be in danger of that. And I think the next one to have to do so is going to be Mauro Ramirez, as he did stop on lap 73. No, I take it back. He won't have to stop. But I think Dan Ensch might have to stop. And just as I say that, Mauro Ramirez, in fact, does have to stop. So trying to do the fuel calculations, don't know exactly how far people can stretch it. Somewhere between 19 and 24 laps. But again, it really depends on how much fuel they can save. So Mauro making his way down here. Kelbaugh back out, and he may still get 7th place out of this. Jason Lowe now shown in 6th place. So as I mentioned, even though he had some sort of an incident that we didn't catch here on camera, he is able to stay a lap down but get into that 6th spot. And again, it doesn't matter how many laps down you are, you still get the same amount of points for finishing in that position. But it is just 3 laps to go for Graham Bunyan, who has put in one heck of a run here today. And he is holding down this Australian 1-2. David Strid making an error entering the pits earlier in the race, spinning into the grass and then having to collect it back up. That pushed him back about 10 seconds. He's managed to claw back about 2.5 seconds of that, but it just won't be enough here. With 2 laps to go and a very clear track in front of the Australian, it's Graham Bunyan cruising at 240 miles per hour here in the high banks of Talladega, past the fans. He'll get the white flag this time by. See if you can see it there in the flagman's hands up in the upper right. There it was. Oh, you didn't see it? Yes, it goes by very quickly here at 240 miles an hour, but Bunyan running hard there in first. And I'll tell you what, there is 2 cars that are fighting out for position. This is Kelbaugh. We'll keep an eye on this one here. Kelbaugh and Ramirez fighting it out. Mauro Ramirez and Kelbaugh. Who will it be coming to the line as Graham Bunyan is now going through turn 4, headed off of 4. It is Bunyan through the tri-oval. I guess we should get him going across the checkered flag. There you go. He'll get first place here at Talladega, and his teammate Strid there running in second will get the position. Livingston comes across in third. West in 4th. Still finishing this one up, but West will finish in 4th. Ryan Bowles a lap down. Is going to take it in 5th. And he's still racing. Bowles still racing because of where he was at on the track. Other cars have already pulled off. I don't think they understand. Still some cars trying to finish up. Or perhaps Bowles just taking a late flyer there and getting into the pits. Jason Lowe brings it home in 6th, and Mauro Ramirez did manage to beat Richard Kelbaugh for that final position there in 7th place. And there is Graham Bunyan, who momentarily we expect will probably be celebrating, and indeed he is. Bunyan creating some smoke for these fans here in Talladega, sending that right up there into those stands. Nothing like the smell of firestones in the morning. Of course, it's the middle of the night for Bunyan back there, who takes victory here in Talladega. We're going to get those final results up there on the screen for you. And there you can see Graham Bunyan taking victory. His teammate there, David Strid, also celebrating for these fans who are just loving it, up on their feet. Howard Livingston for the Care Camps organization ending up in 3rd place. And we're going to be able to talk to these drivers here momentarily as we hop into the broadcast booth and await any remaining drivers to join us. But you can see the final order there. It's Howard Livingston in 3rd for Care Camps, 4th for Mike West, 5th for Bowles, 6th for Jason Lowe, who recovers from an issue yet again, but manages to still get that 6th place as these two teammates on the track butting into each other. Mauro Ramirez taking 7th, Kelbaugh in 8th, Dan Ensch in 9th, Esteban in 10th, Iñigo Mardones. Both Esteban and Mardones having really good races until incidents catching them out, and Stearns as well. Stearns was even up into the lead for a moment. Danny Alt not taking the green flag here today. So let's go ahead and join Howard Livingston if we have him. Hey, Howard, can you hear me, bud?
Yeah, Trevor, I got you, buddy.
All right, awesome. Tried to get the volume perfect. My views show everything good this week. And hey, I'll tell you what, your VU was showing awesome out there on the track today. You managed to get the Care Camps organization Coconut Castaways machine up there into 3rd, and that's got to feel pretty good. It's been frustrating to this point not getting that victory or those podiums that you wanted, but 3rd place for you today. Talk us through your race and tell us how your fuel strategy played out, because that was quite interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, you know, I actually was saving fuel in the beginning because I found that I could actually keep up with everybody and you know, have a fuel saving map that would save some fuel. So that allowed me to stay out a little longer than everybody else. You know, the stint. Then we had a yellow that fell at a pretty good time for me. So actually the race went well. My only problem was coming into the pits. My first green flag pit stop, I was in traffic and totally missed my mark to turn in, and unfortunately turned in way too soon. So lost some time there. But the good news is, you know, didn't get a penalty, and basically just tried to hold on and not screw up.
Well, and that's the key here, is that it was a little bit longer of a race than we thought it would be today based on the scheduling in the in Sim Racer Hub, but nevertheless, you just got to hang out and hold on. It's, and this being at Talladega, it's really pretty much like a NASCAR race where it's a long race. You just got to stay focused on track ahead, not letting the car drift up the track too much or fall off of that draft. Now, how was that racing with David Strid there in that last stint? We saw you racing pretty closely with him, and then it seemed like he was able to pull out a little bit more on you. Were you trying to fuel save a little bit more, or did he just have a little bit of extra pace there to get that 2nd place?
You know, he actually had some extra pace, and I mean, he caught me. He was 3 seconds back, and I was running as fast as I could. Then when he did catch me, I did tuck him behind him and fuel save, but he was just quick today. I mean, as the as the time showed, he pulled out, I think, 5 seconds ahead of me by the time of the end of the race, and you know, and congrats to Graham and to David. They're both such incredible drivers, and it was I'm happy with the third with those two in front of me.
It's very difficult with competitors like Graham and David, and obviously anytime Jason gets the bit between his teeth, he's quite a formidable foe. But still, nice clean race at the front for the most part. We did get to see a couple of unexpected drivers like Stearns and Gomez Esteban make their march up to the front. Mauro Ramirez having a great race get up to the front. Do you like these super speedway, super drafting races, or are you a fan more of the D-shaped ovals that you've had so much success on in the past?
You know, yes. To be honest with you, I was a little skeptical coming in today. You know, because these can be, especially in these cars. I mean, you're going so fast. If someone screws up, it can take out half the field. But I tell you, it's hats off to these drivers. They're great. So yeah, this was a great track. My preference usually is a little shorter tracks than this, but this was a fun race and good racing by all.
Absolutely, and US IndyCar League continues their reputation as one of the cleanest leagues out there. Just, I mean, less cautions than you would see in your average NASCAR race, that is for sure. Everybody keeping it pretty clean out there. Great to have you here, Howard, and of course, we just got a couple more races until that great Indy race, or actually just one more race after this. We'll have that great Indy race at the end, sponsored by Care Camps, and great chance to talk about what Care Camps does, and always so great that you can bring that awareness each week for those kids down there in Florida.
Trevor, thanks so much, buddy, and thanks for all the kind shout-outs, and a shout-out to StickQuik for sponsoring our league. It's so appreciated, and thank you for an incredible broadcast, as always.
Absolutely. My pleasure as always, Howard. Great competitor, great musician, and living a great life down there in Florida, racing Indy cars on the weekend. What more could you want if you're Howard Livingston, bringing it home in third here? Great job, Howard. We look forward to seeing you for the rest of the season. Good luck.
Thanks so much, Trevor.
Absolutely. My pleasure. That's Howard Livingston joining us there from third place, bringing it home for the Coconut Castaways. And so let's see here. It looks like we've got Graham Bunyan. Our winner has emerged from the cockpit and has a moment to speak with us here from Victory Lane. Hey, Graham, can you hear me?
I certainly can.
Excellent. Well, what an amazing run here today. In typical kind of Graham Bunyan fashion, as we've seen lately, you didn't get the pole position, but you were hanging in there in the first stint, and then it was like, it almost looked like it was going to be you and David walking away with it, but then you had to defend it by yourself. You held on for the end of the race. Congratulations on another victory here at the US IndyCar League in season 13, and you're marching your way down that road, down to that third straight championship. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Look, congrats to Howard and Dave. Great race. Yeah, I lost my little buddy there on his second last pit stop. I think his rear brakes just pinched and just spun him as he was coming into the pits. We both didn't take tyres on the first pit stop, so it was a bit sketchy coming in. So my question was, I yelled, "What happened?" And he said, "Back locked up," so I moved my brakes forward so I could have a straight pit.
Well, and that was really the question. From my standpoint, I didn't know if it was a brake bias thing or if he just jammed on the brakes too hard or what, but it is tricky with those cold brakes when you come in and you're not used to applying the brakes. You got to get down to a very slow speed from 240 miles an hour down to like 60 miles per hour on pit lane. Just easy to make those mistakes, isn't it, Graham? And you really do have to keep your concentration, whether you're pitting, you're on the track, and it seems like it's an easy race and everything is going fine. The next thing you know, you could have a lap car causing a problem. Your teammate may be suffering a problem. Someone in front of you may be trying to pit in front of you. As we saw with Manuel Gomez Esteban, he was trying to make a pit stop and just couldn't get out of the way in time, and Dan Ensch ran right into him. So you got to keep your focus, and you've done that excellently, obviously here today, but this whole season. What's it like to do that here at Talladega? Are you constantly having to refresh yourself, remind yourself, don't speed on pit lane, watch your brake bias entering the pits, watch how carefully you modulate those brakes coming into the pits? Are you reminding yourself of this every time you're going to make a maneuver, or is it just kind of natural for you?
I'm reminding myself every lap. I've got to make sure that I do the right thing coming in, because that pit entry comes up that fast at this speed. It's just crazy. You know, you're coming off the track there at a big rate of knots, and yeah, it's you either do it or you die.
Exactly. And as we saw with Strid there making that pit stop and sliding off in the grass, it was amazing. He did drop 10 seconds back. I thought he and Livingston, I thought maybe Livingston would try to do some draft swapping, but Strid kind of ran off the front, and he managed to close in about 3 seconds on you. So it's probably good news for you that he was not up there in the front. Otherwise, he might have done the same thing to you. Nevertheless, you didn't have to worry about that, and your nemesis there, but you're also your teammate in the championship, still settling for second place. And like I said, Graham, you're cementing this third championship each run out there. It's a masterful thing to watch each Sunday, but you continue to show that you're definitely the class in this field. And again, that third championship's in sight. Are you celebrating yet? Or are you just going to keep your nose down and grind it out to the end in Indy?
I think it's there. I think it's there. I think I've already tipped over that mark, but I won't celebrate yet. I'll wait. I'll just keep on racing like I do each week. That's what I'm here for, is to race. They're not going to get it easy.
Definitely not. So, well, we'll look forward to that. A couple more great races still yet to come. Obviously, we're going to be ending with that final race in Indy, which should be special, and obviously a place that would be an awesome place to not only take your third championship and mark that tie with Jason Lowe for the most amount of championships in the series, but take a victory there, because who doesn't love to win at Indy? So, Graham, well, we'll look forward to seeing it. Can you do it next week? That is the question. Any more thoughts or any more shout-outs before we roll on?
Yeah, again, just like every week, thank everybody for turning up and just being here and being part of it. And we have our tough times, and we have some great fun times too. And today was one of those times. It was a pleasure to race. It was a really great fun race, even though there was a few incidences. It was a great race. It was a good race. But again, StickQuik, always sponsoring us and doing a great job there, and Richard as well. So yeah, everybody does a great job. Everyone.
And so many people do wear a second hat, work on the setups, and work with the series and do some administration type stuff as well. So definitely great to have everybody's involvement, and great to have you here, Graham. And well, we'll look forward to next week at Kansas. Totally different than Talladega, that's for sure. So 3 very different tracks to close out the schedule here next week, much shorter. And then, of course, the final race for Care Camps at Indy. Congratulations, Graham, on your march here on that third championship. I don't have the official points yet, but as soon as they do announce it, we'll be sure to get it to you that you've officially clinched it. But either way, looks like it's yours. And again, congratulations on all your success. Next week, Kansas coming up, and we will look forward to seeing you then. So good luck, bud.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. And, again, thanks for everything you do, and also for David Strid, who worked on the setup this week. It's an awesome setup. It was a great race. And Kansas, hopefully it's a high line. I love Kansas on the high side, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, there you go. A little bit of strategy coming out. Will they be trying to do the high line now to block Mr. Bunyan? We'll see. I think he could do the high line, the low line, the medium line. He could run that thing on the wall, and he'd still probably end up in first place. Great job, Graham. So that's going to do it for us today. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time at the Care Camps, at the Kansas 190, and then finally will be Indy. So make sure to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to VirtualRacing.Network. Make sure to do that and like this video. You'll get more of these videos in your homepage and in your feed. And of course, if you tick that little icon that has a little bell, that'll get you all of the notifications of all of our upcoming events. So just 2 more to go here in season 13. Is it Graham Bunyan who took the championship? Who will get that third place in the championship? Stay tuned next week, same time, same channel, right here, VirtualRacing.Network, as we bring you the close of season 13. It's been a great one. Trevor Greenfield reporting out for another week, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week this week. We'll see you next Sunday. Till then, bye-bye, everybody.